I
So
think
why are we so in debt then?
we're in debt because we decide that we're going to reduce the income.
Welcome to another edition of Spark the Conversation. This is your host, Mark the Spark, bringing you today's news. We're going to be covering more of the prison strike that's going on in corrections in the People's Republic of New York State. We're going to be covering some more on Ukraine, the deals that President Trump has made for mineral deposits within the country to help recoup some of the money that we've dropped there. And we're going to also be covering some of the raids going on in Colony Ridge in Texas. Trump is suspending the security clearance of employees tied to Jack Smith's prosecutions of him, and some more things on Doge. And also we're going to talk about Jasmine Crockett. Interesting things today. Let's get into it. The first clip I want to get into is Kathy Hochul speaking a press conference that she was giving about this DOCS, Department of Corrections strike. And she's trying to say that it's all on these corrections officers, that she knows what their pain and their problems are. But then again, she says that they have to hire mediators to talk about what they need. I'm gonna play parts of this clip as long as I can get through before I'm going to break in and have to make some comments on this, because this is just utterly ridiculous.
Take a moment to address the illegal walkouts that are occurring at prison facilities all across the state of New York. Let me be clear. The illegal actions being taken by a number of individuals is putting the entire state at risk. We need them back to work. This must end immediately. My administration has worked tirelessly over the last 9 days to resolve this. In fact, we've brought in mediators requested by the union. The mediation started yesterday. It continues again today. We want to find out what the issue is.
Okay, that's as far as I could get before I had to break in, because this is utterly ridiculous. She says, we got to figure out what the issue is. These unions have been telling you what the issue is for years. You instituted this HALT Act, which has put many prisoners back out on the street, has endangered the lives of corrections officers. You're treating corrections officers like they're the criminals, and criminals like they are civilians out on the street, paying taxes and following the law. And it's not the case. Okay? The prisoners get tablets. The prison guards can't even have their cell phones on them. Okay? The prison guards have to have clear bags to bring their lunch and supplies in every day. It's unreal. And for her to say that this strike is putting citizens and people of New York in danger is absolutely atrocious. She's the one putting people in danger. She's been putting people in danger forever. She's going to refer to it a little later about the lack of prisoners and criminals in prisons and the reduction of the populations in these prisons. And she's the reason why crime hasn't gone down. It's just they've stopped enforcing the law and they've stopped treating criminals like the criminals they are. We'll continue.
Because the individuals who've walked out in an unsanctioned strike, unapproved by the union, have yet to tell us the issues.
I got to do it again. It's because the reason it's unsanctioned by the union is because if it's sanctioned by the union president and possibly some of the other officials in the union leadership team would be put in jail for contempt for allowing this the strike to happen. I hope this Taylor law that they keep referring to, I hope this Taylor law finally gets taken to court, because it is restricting public unions from being able to strike. And that is the only upper hand that any union would have in negotiations against a public entity, which is so strong, has unlimited resources to be able to force unions to take bad contracts and put their employees at risk. That is the only reason it's not sanctioned by unions.
We've done everything we can to encourage them to get back to work. They know they are in violation of the New York State Taylor law. They also are in violation of a temporary restraining order to return to work. We offered an amnesty period where they could go back to work, no questions asked. We also repealed a staffing memo that had been viewed as controversial. We also suspended portions of the HALT law, which requires a certain amount of time out and other activities that we do not have the staffing to implement.
So she says, we've done all we can to encourage them to go back to work. Yeah, but you haven't addressed the problems, okay? You have barely even started the mediation. You already admitted you don't know what the problems are, even though later you're going to make a claim of the opposite, that you do know what the problems are. So you're lying already, and we do not trust you. The fact that you've put a hold on the HALT Act, well, guess what? As soon as they go back to work, you're going to put it right back in, because even you admit in the same speech that the only reason you put the HALT Act on hold for now is because you don't have the membership and the people to make sure that it stays in effect. And it's dangerous for the criminals. It's dangerous for the corrections officer.
I've also had to deploy 6,500 members of the National Guard to do the jobs of those who've walked out. That means that they've been taken either from their homes or critical assignments, whether they're protecting assets in New York City or elsewhere against terrorism.
Wait a minute. Now there's terrorism in New York? Whoa.
We have tried hard to end this. I've had conversations with many, many leaders. But we need a good faith effort to resolve this, starting now. I'm prepared to do that. I understand there's a lot of frustration about the long hours. I have long stood with the corrections officers of this state, more than I'm going to guess any other governor.
Okay, I'm going to cry bull. Okay, first of all, here's her first admission that she knows what the problem is, the long hours. She's going to go further and admit that the staffing is a problem too. But to say that she's stood with these corrections officers more than any other governor, come on, Hochul. I know you're dumb, but man, you think we're dumb? You think they're going to be able to pull that on us and tell us this kind of crap and we're going to believe it? No way.
And say, these conditions are hard. I understand that. We need more of you on the job. I get that. But we have a situation right now which is absolutely untenable, especially the fact that there were prisons left unguarded. Think about that. The incarcerated population was left unguarded. There were people from other unions, people who work in healthcare and the commissary, who were left unprotected by these actions. Thank God for the National Guard that are in there doing work that they never anticipated. And the condition inside the prisons is stabilized.
Yeah, the conditions inside the prisons are stabilized, except for that one prisoner that just died up in one of the prisons there. And then the National Guard had to do CPR on the guy to try to save him, but it didn't work. Probably because they overdosed, because you have a drug problem even within the prison system.
We've had to start legal proceedings against these individuals. Not something I ever would want to do, but I have a law to enforce. We've also let them know that if you are striking your AWOL, you no longer secure the right to have health benefits from the state. That goes away. Your legal proceedings have started. Your legal representation is not covered by the union because this is not sanctioned by the union. They will not pay for this. And I am so grateful to the law-abiding correction officers who are still showing up and want to get back to work in a normal setting. We will get there as soon as possible. These are difficult, difficult jobs. I know that. I know that. But people took an oath of office to protect the public.
Yeah, you took an oath of office too, Kathy, that you were going to protect the people and protect the public, but you don't do your job, and you're not protecting the corrections officers. You're protecting the criminals instead with your terrible legislation and your preference towards protecting those who break the law versus those who actually do go to work and pay their taxes.
We have to get back to ensuring that that oath is kept. There's an enormous strain on our system right now. I encourage everyone to come back to work. We hear you with respect to the long hours. I'm working hard to address that. But we also have, as you've heard here in the city of Albany, recruitment issues. These are hard jobs. Not everybody's signing up for them. We're doing the very best we can. The prison population has declined by half over the last number of years.
There she goes talking about the prison population that's declined by half. What does that tell you? Do you think that crime has dropped by 50% in New York State? What do you think the odds are? The fact that crime has gone down 50% or that you have stopped enforcing the law? Which one do you think it is? Why do you think you have recruitment issues in these prisons? Because they know that you don't have their backs and nobody wants to do this job. Everybody in New York State knows that becoming a police officer, becoming in corrections, being a prison guard is not where anybody wants to be right now. Just like under Joe Biden, nobody wanted to join the military because they knew that their back was not covered by the person in charge. The same is true of corrections and law enforcement in New York State. You don't have their back, and they know it.
We're working hard to consolidate, making sure that we are maximizing every bed in our facilities. In fact, we're transporting members of the incarcerated population as we speak to take them to other facilities where I can protect them more readily. So that's where we are. That's the status. We're very engaged and look forward to a resolution as soon as possible.
So there she goes, talking about protecting the criminal population in the prisons. She's going to move them to protect the criminals. And that is the Freudian slip that we've been looking for. She admits that she's protecting the criminals. She doesn't care about the citizens of the People's Republic of New York. And she doesn't care about the corrections officers in the prisons doing the hard work either. She says, thank you to the people who are still showing up. Those people who are still showing up are doing so because they don't have a choice. Either they're barely scraping by on the wages that you give them, or they're on probation because they just started in these jobs. Okay? They're not doing it for you. They're doing it because they've been put in a corner and they have no choice. This is on you, Kathy Hochul. You know what the problems are. You created them, and you need to fix them. This is a chart of injuries, work-related injuries for corrections officers right now. And this just goes to show that in the last few years, the injuries on the job have skyrocketed. I mean, you're talking about 2015, all the way up to about 2021, where there's about 25% of injury incident rates on the job and corrections. And then in 2023, 2024, it skyrockets to 42.7%. I mean, that's a 17% difference. That's incredible. She thinks that she knows the problems. Look at this chart. There's your part of your problem. Here is Joe Pinion. He's out with some of these law enforcement officers, the corrections officers outside one of the prisons, probably Collins Correctional, because that seems to be the central location of most of these strikes. And he's talking to the people that are on strike, telling them to hold the line and that he's got their backs. He actually is supporting them, unlike Kathy.
I want to encourage you to keep standing strong, to send a message to Kathy Hochul, a woman who saw all of you willing to walk off of the job and then turned around and sent a memo saying, come back to work or we'll close more prisons. Come back to work or we'll fire more workers. And so they have been robbing Peter to pay Paul. She is concerned about President Trump with a crown on his head on the cover of Time magazine. I want to remind her no one died and made her queen. There's Marie Antoinette on the Hudson River. To have all of you guys out here in the cold, and so I just want to thank you for what you're doing. Encourage you to hold the line. Tell all of your friends that your work matters. This walkout, this strike matters. So God bless you all. Keep the fires lit. Keep the logs chopped. Hold the line. Let's get the job done together. Thank you so much.
And just to show how truly dumb she is, how truly dumb the leadership in the People's Republic of New York is, here's a commercial, an ad they're running now to try to hire people who have been fired by DOJ from the federal government and bring them to New York State. The fact that she has to do this, I mean, New York State has had one of the biggest population declines in recent years. Between New York and California, they're all running to red states. They're all trying to get out as fast as they can. And to be honest, the people who are still here, myself included, is, the only reason we're here is because of family or because of a job that you can't transfer somewhere else. Those are the only reason people are still here even. If it weren't for that, you'd even see a bigger exodus. Here is the commercial that's supposed to draw on all these federal workers that aren't even doing any work staying at home into New York.
The federal government might say you're fired, but here in New York, we say you're hired. In fact, we love federal workers. Whatever your skills, we value public service. Check out potential jobs at ny.gov/we want you. Come join our New York State family.
Man, doesn't the desperation just reek in that video? It's so despicable. Man, cringe indeed. We are begging the federal employees that have been fired by Doge. So these are the people that have basically just been no-shows in the federal government, and she's begging them to come to New York to work for her, or not really work, but collect a paycheck. Just absolutely unreal. But speaking of Doge, there's some more news in from Doge. They're saving the taxpayer dollars, over $800 million more savings. You know, they got these websites like, I've seen this Facebook page keep showing up on my feed. I don't know why, but it's like Alt National Parks or something like that. I don't know what it has to do with national parks. All it's doing is bashing Doge, which is just trying to save money. I mean, all these people that are against Doge, I don't understand why you would be against saving the taxpayer money. Their main points that they're trying to show is like, oh, they're overemphasizing the savings, or, they're costing the taxpayer dollar. Look, Elon Musk is not charging a dime, first of all. Second of all, they just came out with showing the person who's actually running Doge. It's a person who was running the USDS before, the United States Digital Services, which was, like I've said before, was developed under President Obama and just repurposed to be doing the Department of Government Efficiency now. That's what it was. It was changed, a name changed done under executive order, and now it's just being run a different way. President Trump and Elon Musk has redirected their efforts towards finding the waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. And if you're against that, I have to question your loyalty. I have to question what your mission is to try to stop it. Anyways, I'm going to run through some of this list of what they found recently. $69 million for Eurasia Foundation to do digital transformation activity in Europe. $32 million to interviews for programs including media enabling internews, media enabling democracy, inclusion, accountability in Moldova. The promotion of sustainable media outlets. So basically some propaganda in these other countries, I guess. $7 million for the American Bar Association to promote the resilience of Eurasian legal sector and civic society. $520 million for a consultant to ESG investments in Africa and mobilize private sector resources and expertise. $25 million to promote biodiversity conservation and promote listed livelihoods by developing socially responsible behaviors in Colombia, whatever that's supposed to help with. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Put them to work, send them home. $42 million for Johns Hopkins to research and drive social behavior change in Uganda. Again, how does that benefit me? $45 million to address the needs, opportunities, and challenges identified by activists and other civic actors engaged in nonviolent collective action. Help unions? I don't understand this stuff. How does that help us? And $52 million for the World Economic Forum, which is just a waste. It is a pile of human feces. That is, besides the fact that the World Economic Forum is full of rich people, the richest people in the world, that just blow their money on political advocacy and craziness, haven't funded themselves. Yeah, $800+ million is a very, very small fraction of the federal government. I get it. But this has been 3 weeks in, and we've found how many billions of dollars? The Doge clock is spinning faster than we're building up interest, and that's saying something. So good for them. Keep it up. Speaking of Doge and saving money, we've got to talk about this Jasmine Crockett. She is a congresswoman out of Texas, and I think it's Houston, Texas, to be more specific. And I just have one thing to say. Houston, do better. Geez, this woman has got to be the least educated person I have ever met. And seeing this in the federal government, somebody on X actually posted, I think she's more entertaining. She's my new favorite over AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, of course. And I have to agree because it is cringe, man. Listening to this person talk, you have to wonder, how did this happen? Like, again, Houston, do better. Here's her complaining about saving the government money and why we have such a big debt. And I don't understand what she's trying to say. And honestly, I don't think she does either.
There is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government, though.
I'm not going to say that there's a lot. I'm going to say that it does exist. I'm going to say that it exists. I don't think that there's a lot. I think.
So why are we so in debt then?
We're in debt because we decide that we're going to reduce the income.
What did she just say? Like, really? They reduced the income? They don't want to increase the income? What is she talking about? People, Houston, we've got to have a talk. Like, come on. This woman is absolutely ridiculous. Like, what is even going on? Holy cow. She is, I don't even understand. I don't understand. Basic economics? Read some Thomas Sowell? I don't know. Anyways, but to even make this more insane, she's on The View telling people that they need to be better educated.
% approval rating. It's higher than it's ever been. 70% believe that he's fulfilling his promises, and 45% believe Democrats should be more moderate. What do you take away? I think there's a lot to make of those numbers, but what's your takeaway from that?
My takeaway is just like the election. We've got to do better at education. People don't understand.
Really? You need to educate more? Maybe you should educate yourself a little bit more, Jasmine. And she's actually from Dallas more, in Texas more than Houston, representing them anyways. But anyways, Dallas do better than, I take it back, Houston, although I have my questions there too. Anyways, so she's talking about educating people even better. But here's another clip. She's on with Charlemagne the God and on the Breakfast Club, again, like the other clip came from as well. And she's talking about, she's not even supporting the United States. She's literally cheering for Mexico and Canada.
We've been the one to call it out. The fact that I'm rooting for Canada and I'm rooting for Mexico a lot is really wild. But they are really the ones that are speaking truth to power right now. They can see what it is. And they were like, we are not messing with this crazy regime from Mar-a-Lago, and basically calling them thugs. That's what it is. But I'm like, y'all knew who he was when y'all elected him. So don't act surprised.
Oh, I'm not acting surprised. In fact, I'm not even surprised when you try to start a fight on the House floor, because you did that. You tried to start a screaming match with one of the, I think it was Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has her own questionable actions, but you tried to start a verbal altercation with her right in the House, U.S. House. So, woman, like, come on. And here's her now when she's asked about Elon Musk. This is a response, and tell me how educated this comes off.
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
That's it.
Wow, seems so educated, right? That's the person that we should trust. That's the person that we should listen to, isn't it? I don't think so. Time for you to go. Time for Dallas to pick somebody better to send to represent them next time, because she is making you guys look like a fool. I'm just going to tell you that straight out. She's making you guys look foolish, like you don't know what you're doing. Be better. Anyways, so we've got to talk about the border now again. And they've now raided this Colony Ridge. Up till now, Colony Ridge has been a little bit off limits. There have been so many reports of abuse going on within there. Abuse even of the people that are staying there. Even links to the Mexican cartel helping run this place and helping run the scam. So supposedly the people operating this Colony Ridge, the developers have said that they're for these raids. I think they're just trying to sidestep being involved with the illegal activity that we know that they are. But there have been like 90 people now deported from this Colony Ridge, or at least collected from there anyways. And some of them have pretty serious allegations against them. Here's one news story about the raids.
Well, state and federal law enforcement are targeting the Colony Ridge subdivision for criminals and illegal immigrants.
Governor Greg Abbott posting on X that Texas DPS and special agents are helping with this operation. Fox 26's Jade Fleury is there live in Colony Ridge. Jade, what do you know?
Well, the operations happening here in Colony Ridge don't appear to be raids, but instead a heavy presence of law enforcement pulling people over and arresting them. And throughout the day today, we have seen those DPS troopers patrolling the area and making those arrests.
I'm just scared for my family.
The area once named a safe haven for immigrants, now being targeted by state and federal law enforcement. In a post on X, Governor Greg Abbott said the Houston suburb of Colony Ridge is now being targeted by an operation including DPS troopers, special agents, and Homeland Security.
It seems like they're just pulling people over and then escalating it from there. Just as we got here about an hour and a half ago, is we saw well over a dozen traffic stops happening along this main road.
Texas DPS troopers and unmarked vehicles were seen making those traffic stops and arresting people throughout the area. Residents who witnessed the arrests choosing not to be on camera out of fear for their families.
There were like police on the Family Dollar, and they were taking some people, and my mom, she got scared because she said like, we don't want like our family to just be like them.
They were just scared. They were crying. They didn't want us to come outside.
We got a video from one of our followers that showed that the people that were in the unmarked vehicle was HSI or ICE.
Colony Ridge has been at the center of recent controversy as reports called it a magnet for undocumented migrants. Some Republican lawmakers calling it America's largest immigrant community. Monday's operation instilling fear into those living in Colony Ridge.
We are scared for our families, not for us, but for our cousins, niece, mom, grandma, because my grandma, she lives here and she's not good with the papers.
Is you're going to see some of these areas start turning into ghost towns. And that is going to hurt not only the immigrant communities that live here, the business owners that live here, but the community at large.
So you can see just by that, they're talking about, the reputation that this place has about with undocumented immigrants, meaning illegal immigrants. Even the girl at the end who didn't want to show her face because she's probably illegal here too. But she says, my grandma, she's not good with the papers. That's code for illegal immigrant. Okay. In case you didn't catch that. So, they're talking about all these people. Oh, they're not criminals. They're just, people looking for a safe place or whatever. No, they crossed the border illegally. They are criminals. That is how it works. You broke a law. You're a criminal. I'm sorry. Not really, though, because you did it. You made the decision. And now this is a great example, actually, because these people are living in squalor. This is a great example of how weak border policy has actually endangered the immigrants coming across the border, because now they are subject to, cartels and developers like this one to take advantage of these people. Okay. Again, it's dangerous for them and for the American public. Here's a representative, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal. She's out of Washington, complaining about the fact that they can't have illegal immigrants in the United States.
And their distractions. We can't let them deport the millions of families across this country who have been doing the work that keeps our economy going every day. We can't let them scapegoat and criminalize immigrants who contribute, who are our neighbors, our friends, our churchgoers, our community around us that we deeply love. Immigrants are us. Immigrants are us, and we all deserve respect and dignity. If you look at the food that's on your table, think about who picked it. If you look at your homes.
So the thing that she fails to address, the same thing that everybody on the left fails to address, is the fact that, yes, are we a country of immigrants? Yeah, at one point we were. And now we have a common understanding of what our society expects and the laws and standards of our country. And now you're going to try to bring all these people in who don't understand that. And that's why a country needs borders. And a country is not a country without borders. A house is not a house without walls and doors. And, so if you leave your door wide open, do you have a house? I don't think so. You won't for very long anyways. So she's trying to confuse the public, try to say that they're deporting your neighbors and your churchgoers and your friends. They're not coming in just to take anybody in your church. They're coming to take criminals out of your church. And Tom Homan has been very clear about the fact that they're going after the worst of them first. Okay? Sanctuary cities, sanctuary states are the ones that protect those individuals. And actually, the less guilty, the less dangerous illegal immigrants get caught up more in these raids because the ICE has to go in and get them instead of just being turned over when they commit the crimes and nobody else has to get caught up in the middle of it. So they're actually making it more dangerous for these people. But regardless, She is just trying to make it more dangerous for her citizens, and it's sickening. Here's another news story out of the Daily Wire reporter talking about more about these raids.
Meantime, to you, Spencer. Now, you wrote this in the Daily Wire, quoting here, Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott announced that the Colony Ridge development, a magnet for illegal aliens just north of Houston, is being targeted for deportation operations on Monday, today by the Department of Homeland Security and the Texas Department of Public Safety. Still waiting for numbers here, but this is a criminal hotbed, Spencer, correct?
That's absolutely right. This is a 60 square mile development. It is massive. If it's allowed to continue to grow, it'll reach a population of 250,000 people. And the developers, Colony Ridge developers, John and Trey Harris, have profited off of mass migration. And they intend to continue if they're not stopped by state lawmakers and by, of course, ICE and HSI agents who intend to deport their clientele. We've seen just what type of individuals are at Colony Ridge. And just moments ago, we saw that there's actually an active manhunt for an illegal alien who is a confirmed member of MS-13. He is believed to have been deported on 7 different occasions and is connected to a fatal stabbing. Colony Ridge has invited people like this into the community, into the interior of the country. They have profited, and the American people have paid. They have paid with higher crime, with a flood of drugs, and with a community that has been made completely and utterly unrecognizable.
That is absolutely correct, and a great investigative report from the Daily Wire investigative reporter. So this is just another example of the illegal activity that is going on within these communities that Tom Homan and ICE and a lot of our other security agencies are going to have to go in and take care of to restore this country to the safe place that it used to be for its citizens, which, remember, should be the priority of all these groups. Just unreal that we even have to say things like that. But, and he points out again about the profits that this developer has made on the backs of these people. And that's what's going to happen. Like I said before, these people will be victimized by anybody who wants to take advantage of these people's poor situations. And regardless of what situations they're in their own countries, we can't really control that. We obviously can't go and save every country. Maybe if Doge can clean up USAID, it can be actually used for helpful things for other countries instead of the waste, fraud, and abuse that it's been used, spreading crazy gender ideology across the world and promoting the propagandist media that we have in our country to spread to other parts of the world as well. Here is a little report out of the Blaze, giving kind of an overview of what is happening in this capital, Colony Ridge, rather.
By the time Joe Biden's out of office, there will be about 10 million new people in here. If you have 10 million people coming in, where are they living? Look at the size of this.
The fastest growing development in Texas. It's just a 30-minute drive from Houston. Any idea of how many are illegal?
The majority.
The majority.
The majority.
I'm like Sears and Roebuck. I have a product, I created it, I sell it.
Does it bother you at all, just culturally, in America, to have 150,000 people that are speaking another language?
Own something of your own home. That's what we're trying to create for people here.
If it's the American dream, why don't you advertise in English?
They are going against humanity, against Americans, non-Americans, a lot of races, a lot of people.
Like, we were dumb for even falling into this. But I mean, what do we do? What do we do?
If you import the third world, you end up becoming more third world.
I've served in Afghanistan. Every war-torn or third world country always has that same distinct smell, and it's the smell of burning trash.
You can see all the undeveloped lots. This could become massive.
Gunfire shooting up there, just pow, 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 coming in front of my house.
My wife's advice was, don't piss off any cartels. I said, I'll try.
Is this the future for America? Because this is the path we're on as an entire country. This is a completely new population.
So it looks like a great investigative series by The Blaze. Looking forward to more on that. And it just goes to show, I mean, this went to show all different angles from the developer side, from the residents side, from the government's perspective, and how out of control this has gotten. Now, here's another news story out of Fox News with a couple clips from Tom Homan speaking on Colony Ridge and the raids as well.
Hi, Bill. Well, this is one of the largest operations we have seen yet, with Border Czar Tom Homan telling Fox First that around 90 illegal migrants were arrested. These arrests happening in and around the Colony Ridge area. This is right outside of Houston. It's a largely Hispanic development. Officials say HSI, along with ERO officers and Texas DPS, targeted criminal and illegal migrants early Monday morning. Border Czar Tom Homan joined that operation. He tells me it was phase one of a larger criminal investigation and that a majority of those arrested were criminal migrants. Now, we're still waiting on a breakdown of just how many, but he says some already had warrants and were arrested at worksite operations. Others were captured on camera right here getting arrested during traffic stops conducted by DPS.
This was something a little different today. It's a larger criminal investigation into a network, and a lot of the people we're interested in were located in that area. I know for a fact there were several sexual predators, child predators that were arrested for sexual misconduct with a child. There were several of them. I know there's one that was convicted of either homicide or murder.
And ICE just sent me this. Among those arrested, a 3-time previously deported criminal illegal alien from El Salvador. ICE tells me he had a criminal arrest warrant for alleged repeated abuse of a minor. Now, Border Czar Tom Homan tells me that his priority right now going after those criminal illegal migrants, those who are a national security threat. But he said he's made this clear that if you are in the country illegally, you are not off the table. Meanwhile, we did reach out to Colony Ridge. The CEO tells me that he is in full support of this operation, Bill.
Okay, Brooke. Thanks, Brooke Taylor, on that in Houston. Thank you.
So a great report on that situation from Fox News, and Tom Homan doing a great job there as well. Again, that was the point that I made earlier, that the developers of Colony Ridge are supposedly in favor of this operation. The reports were also saying, one thing that wasn't mentioned is that they were using tax ID numbers instead of Social Security numbers to allow people to live here. Social Security number, obviously something that only citizens should have, and tax ID numbers much easier to come by, especially if you want to get a fraudulent one. Is definitely easier for an illegal immigrant to get a hold of something like that. So this needs to continue. Like Tom Homan said, they're targeting criminals first. Some of these criminals quite serious, as we saw a 3-time child molester. And there was also a member of MS-13 that has been deported numerous times that was caught up in this as well. So whether that is raids or targeted enforcement based on traffic stops or other violations, I don't think that's relevant. I think it is a little bit easier to justify if you're doing it based on traffic stops or finding somebody who's violating some other law in order to justify the stop. However, I think that it is good to have presence in this area and enforce these laws. And in our last news story, we're going to talk about the security clearance that has been revoked for some of these law firm employees tied to Jack Smith's prosecutions of Donald Trump. Donald Trump sent a memo today suspending security clearances for employees at Washington-based law firm who worked for the former special counsel Jack Smith on his investigations. This is a report out of Epic Times. Memo targets attorneys at Covington and Burling LLP who assisted Jack Smith. A White House official said Trump administration would be suspending and putting under review the security clearances for the attorneys and employees at that firm who worked with Jack Smith's team due to them providing pro bono legal services to the investigations. Jack Smith investigated Trump in 2 cases, obviously the one in Washington regarding his attempts to challenge the 2020 election, and the classified documents case where they were trying to accuse him of having illegal documents at Mar-a-Lago. The memo directs the Attorney General and all heads of relevant agencies to suspend any active security clearances held by Peter Koski and all members, partners, and employees of Cummington and Burling who assisted the special counsel during this time, pending review and determination of their roles and responsibilities. So there's going to be an investigation to see what else is going to have to be done in this case. All right, so this is good news. We need to root out, again, this is more rooting out of the corruption, the involvement of people in lawfare, which needs to stop, and it's dangerous precedents in the securing of our constitutional republic, which is an important distinction from democracy, which the left loves to claim, even though they do not support that either. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today. That'll wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and come back again soon. And don't forget to volunteer for something important and spark the conversation.